I haven't always collected video games or systems. In fact, it's sort of a newer thing I've gotten into in the last 2 years, which, by the way, is not the best time to get into collecting because, as we're all well aware, everything's gotten more expensive and video games are certainly no exception. Prices were already starting to creep up for retro systems before the pandemic and have only gotten worse since then. I don't even want to talk about what's going on with newer systems. But it's not all doom and gloom if you're still looking for ways to build, or like in my case, rebuild your collection so long as you're willing to put in a little bit of sweat equity. You see, none of these consoles are from my childhood, and virtually every retro console I own only works because I managed to repair it. Yeah, I bought consoles listed for parts or repair off eBay and other marketplaces for cheap and fixed them up. That's not to say I didn't have any of these as a kid. In fact, I did have some of these. I had a Game Boy Color neon green just like this, an original Game Boy Advance, as well as a silver SP and a PS2. I also have a NES that my sister currently has, and I did have a Game Gear that I broke playing Mighty Morphin Power Rangers thanks to its cheating shenanigans. Sorry, Mom. I wish I knew back then how to fix, because I probably could have saved it. All of those were traded away along with my N64, GameCube, and PSP because, well, I didn't have the money to buy new consoles all the time, and I fell for the old GameStop trading credit program. The only consoles I still have from my childhood are my original Xbox and my 360. You see, when I was little, I never had any sort of attachment to any of the games or systems I had, but as I got older, I really started to develop that connection and I started to miss the games and the systems that I had let go long ago. I really started to appreciate the collecting aspect of it and understood why some people have thousands of games. My quest to recollect my old systems really all started with the Wii U, believe it or not. It was around the time the Wii U eShop was going to shut down and I decided I really wanted to buy one. So in March of 2023, I went on eBay and purchased a Wii U. Then when the eShop shut down like a week later, I decided, well, I guess I can mod it, right? I had heard about that and how easy it was, and wouldn't you know, it was very easy, which is good because it was my first ever mod. Thank God for soft mods. But during the process, I stumbled upon a video about something I never really knew: electronic repair and more specifically console repair. I don't know whose video it was I stumbled across. I think it was one of Steve's from Tronics Fix. Great channel, great content, but after watching a video of his and then several other creators in the space, I really went down the rabbit hole of electronic repair and just knew I had to try it. So in order to start, I bought some tools from iFixit, who I actually want to talk about a little later in the video because I have something pretty cool from them to give away today, but more on them later. I didn't start out with the intent of building my own collection of consoles. I started out with the hope of making money, but of course I had no idea how to fix consoles and I didn't really have the tools either. I was willing to invest a little in a hobby, but I knew I needed to start out small, so I started with a DSi. It was a very simple issue, a shoulder button that didn't work. All I had to do was take it apart, clean it out, and bam, a fully functional DSi. Naturally, I sold that DSi on eBay for a very modest profit overall because I can't just go around buying up everything, even though I would like to, but that success did reinforce the growing passion for console repair. I filmed myself fixing that console and started a YouTube channel called Fix More, Waste Less. Yes, this is not my first channel. I wanted to film my repairs and help others in case they had issues with their consoles. I'm a big believer in preservation and keeping consoles happy and healthy so we can all enjoy them in the future. The more working ones there are out there, the cheaper they should be for those who want to play them. At least that's my hope. From there, I fixed a few PlayStation 2s, either no power issues or disk read issues, and that's when I started to think, hey, if I can buy a console for cheap and fix it for cheap, that's better than buying a working one for more. More work, sure, but at the same time, I was enjoying the work, learning how to fix consoles, how electronics works, how they all fit together, and just in general about opening consoles, which I'd never done before because I was so scared of breaking something or avoiding a warranty, which, by the way, these stickers, they mean nothing. You can take it off all you want and they can't deny you coverage. Just something I learned diving into this world of repair. And by fixing a PS2, I now once again had a console I'd had as a kid that I'd traded away like 2 decades ago. It brought back so many memories of playing like WWF SmackDown and Vice City and Killzone and God of War and Metal Gear Solid 3 and, of course, Dragon Ball Z Budokai and Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi. It spurred me to go back and repurchase some of the games I played all those years ago and made me want to continue rebuilding what I'd sold off long ago. So from there, I went on to fix more and more consoles, selling most of them on eBay after I'd fixed them or storing them away when I couldn't, but every once in a while keeping those I fixed. I bought a few PS3s because I'd never had a PS3 at all, and while I couldn't actually fix most of them because the yellow light of death is a beast of an issue, I did manage to resurrect a PS3 Slim, which is actually more reliable than the fat version anyway. I don't care that it's not backwards compatible, I have a modded PS2 for that. Probably my favorite and best repair came when I fixed an Xbox One X by replacing the HDMI retimer chip. That was, I think, my first real bit of micro soldering. I had to use a hot air gun and replace an actual component on the board, something I didn't even know was possible like months before that. I bought that broken 1X for $75 off eBay, fixed it, and sold my 1S for about $75. So effectively, I traded my 1S for a 1X, and I think that was a pretty good deal. It's a better system and a nice way for me to upgrade to something I never would have paid for in working condition, much less new. I then took on the challenge of working on switches, which are really easy to kill apparently, but also not too terrible to fix with a bit of soldering work and steady hands. I managed to fix an OLED model and took that as my main unit, and boy, I love the OLED model so much more than the original LCD. But I would have never bought an OLED model, even used, if not for the challenge of repairing it and the fact that it was cheaper. That drew my interest, and I'm just so glad that it did. I unfortunately was never successful in fixing any PS5s I worked on. No display for one, it's not the HDMI port or the encoder as far as I know, and the other was shipped in pieces with components ripped off the board because the eBay seller was an idiot. Quite frankly, PS5s are just too expensive for me to take the gamble on over and over again, so that's why I still don't have one. And I started to move away from the newer, more expensive, and more difficult to fix consoles and wanted to focus on my own collection of consoles instead of repairing newer consoles and trying to make a profit. My OG Game Boy came from a corroded out and damaged model. It was a cheap and easy way to get something that goes for way more than I paid for it. Same for this Game Boy Color, which had a dead speaker. $5 for a new speaker I can solder in place to save $20 on the console? Yes, please. This Zelda Model DS has a damaged hinge, and while I haven't managed to fix its card reading issue despite replacing the card reader, it still looks great on the shelf. At least I think so. I used my newfound soldering skills to completely overhaul a PS1, giving it an optical drive emulator and HDMI output, which was like my first real hardware mod. And yes, it was very challenging, but it's now pretty much the best PS1 you can have. And as someone who never had a PS1 when I was a kid, it's a pretty awesome way to get to experience some of the classic games the way they were originally released. And from there, I went and modded a very corroded Game Boy Advance as seen in previous videos on this channel. I absolutely love this thing. Beautiful IPS display, rechargeable battery, and new shell. It's a great focused device that lets me just dive into a game right away. I've learned a lot from console repair and gained a lot of respect for what professional repair techs can do. And I encourage anyone who even thinks they'd enjoy console repair to look into it. There are so many consoles out there in need of repair, and I believe it's a great way to build your collection for cheaper than buying working consoles. There are some risks for sure, and yes, it's very likely you could end up spending more on the tools you'll need to repair than you would save. Some of these tools are quite expensive, I'll admit that, so if you're only looking to fix one or two systems, it might not be worth it, but if you're strategic and you do a lot of research on the consoles you're interested in, you could find great candidates out there that don't need any major tools for the repair. I mean, it costs pennies to fix that first DSi, and you can spend $10 on a power supply or $15 on a laser for a PS2, but that could save you $60 or $70 if that's what you're looking for. That's why I always encourage looking at 3DSs with issues if you're in the market but frightened by the high price tag of a working system. Bottom screens are easily replaced, top screens not so much. The newer consoles tend to have more difficult repairs and are where micro soldering can come into play, and in some cases, yes, you will spend more money to get into the hobby. But nothing beats the feeling of bringing a dead console back to life. Just do a lot of research so you can see what the major issues of certain consoles are. I know that without diving into this hobby, I wouldn't have half the consoles I do right now. Game Boy Advances, SPs, my Wii, PS3, PS2, PS1. I hope to fix a PSP or Vita in the future to add that to my collection and then fill it out with some more other maybe resurrected 3DSs or DSIs. There's still more I'm missing from my childhood that I'd like to add to my collection as well, so I do want to keep on repairing every now and then, and that's where I think iFixit comes in. If you don't know who they are, they're a company that supports our right to repair, which is an issue that might deserve its own video in the future. They sell tools and replacement parts so we can fix the consoles companies either no longer want to or want to charge way more than they should to. You should check them out. If you ever want to open any modern console or device, you're probably going to need something like this driver set because they all use specialty bits these days. No more Phillips heads for us. There are tools you'll need to get into console repair, and I have videos on my other channel covering that, but one thing you definitely need is a soldering station, and I happen to have one right here from iFixit that has a bit of a funny story to it. iFixit actually reached out to send me this, but on its way to my house, it got lost. So iFixit, being a great company from at least my experience, sent out another one. That one arrived, but then about a week later, the original one arrived as well. I emailed them asking if they wanted me to send it back. I was certainly happy to do that. I didn't need 2 of these stations, but I did also ask if they won, I'd be happy to do a giveaway for viewers, and they agreed that that would be acceptable. So that's what I'm gonna do. Now, I've never done a giveaway on this channel or my other ones, so I'm going to do it, I guess, like the good old-fashioned way. If you're interested in winning this portable soldering station from iFixit, just send me an email at fixmorewasteless@gmail.com. I'll leave it in the description. That's it. Maybe tell me in the email just what console you're interested in trying to fix, or if it's something else, a phone or tablet, whatever. I don't care. I'm not going to sell your email or spam you with anything or add you to any kind of like distribution list. None of that. It's just an email address I use when I would do repairs for viewers, but I figure it's the easiest way to facilitate a giveaway. And this way you don't have to do any fake engagement metrics like the video or subscribe or leave a comment. You don't have to do any of that. Just let me know if you're interested by sending an email, and I'll pick one email randomly on, we'll give it 2 weeks. So I'll say October 24th. I'll reach out and ship it to the winner completely free. Won't cost you anything at all. I've only used this a little so far, but it seems powerful enough for small consoles. It's battery powered, which makes it portable, which is kind of a nice feature for some. I don't think it's going to be great for newer consoles, those that things like soak up a lot of heat and need something a bit more powerful, but for Game Boys, Advances, DSs, PSPs, maybe even Switches. Well, let's see. This here is a switchboard. No, not like that. This is a Nintendo Switch motherboard. This is what gives you your Tears of the Kingdom. No wonder it stutters. Let's see just how well this can remove, I don't know, the fuse on here that never actually blows to save the console's life. Okay, so to do this, we'll just add a little bit of flux and then come in with our soldering iron tip, and hopefully we can melt it off. And yeah, just like that, this fuse does come off. It's a small component. It should come off relatively easy with something like this. And there you go. I think that'll work just fine for small consoles. This thing comes with really almost everything you need to get started. Solder, flux, tweezers, solder braid, and of course, a soldering iron. So this might just be a nice little addition to your console repair setup, or might just be the thing that gets you started down this wonderful and noble journey. If you think so, be sure to sign up at the email below. Thanks for watching, and if you take up this journey, I wish you nothing but success in your endeavors. I hope you fix every single console you get your hands on. We'll catch you in the next one.